Hey, guess what? Macabre'Gorium Labs just got a pretty cool new toy. Yep, that's right. Macabre'Gorium Labs has a time TV. This thing's pretty cool. It allows us to see any broadcast live from any decade that TV has existed. Today I think we should take a look at some 1980s TV, because the 80s were rad. Luckily the TV came with the remote, so the first thing we gotta do is turn it on. Now, let's put in 1980.
Yo, yo, yo! He's smarter than the average bear! Yo, yo!
I think that's the wrong 80s. Let's try again. This one might work. Hey everybody, what's up and welcome back to Macabre'Gorium Labs presents a showcase of things likely forgotten. And in this case, that's probably truer than you think. My name is Bats and I hope you'll join me today as we take a look at today's video, the completely mental misadventures of Ed Grimley. Totally decent, I must say. Before we can talk about the cartoon featuring Ed Grimley, we need to talk about who this character is and where he came from. Edward Mayhoff, Ed Grimley, is a fictional character created and played by the iconic Martin Short. Martin would begin bringing this character to life on Toronto's Second City stage, where he was an unnamed school parent in a sketch.
The Second City stage, for those that don't know, began debuting in 1959. It's an improv comedy enterprise. It has training programs and live theaters in Toronto and New York. Grimley made his first TV.
Wow. Grimley made his first TV debut on SCTV, a sketch comedy show from 1982, and quickly became a hit with audiences. Martin would keep adding elements to the Grimley persona and refining the character more and more over time. With the popularity growing, the Ed Grimley character would eventually feature on Saturday Night Live, or SNL as it is commonly known, debuting on October 6th, 1984. Moving forward, we go into the topic for today's video, because in 1988, Hanna-Barbera Productions and SEPP International, SA, decided to produce an animated TV series featuring the Ed Grimley character with Martin Short. So, on September 10th, 1988, the completely mental misadventures of Ed Grimley would premiere on NBC, and it would continue to air until December 3rd, 1988. For the rest of this video, I'm simply going to call it The Ed Grimley Show.
Now this show was special, as it was the only Saturday morning cartoon adaptation that would have both a SCTV character and an SNL character.
The live-action character, Ed Grimley, is a hyperactive man-child, and I personally think he kind of in ways reminds me of Napoleon Dynamite. He has a permanent cowlick in the front of his hair and obsesses about pop culture. He is considered a nerd and loves Wheel of Fortune and Pat Sajak. Ed usually wears black pants that are a couple inches too short, note to the goat, those are called high waters, with a plaid yellow and white short-sleeved button-up shirt. Ed's musical instrument preference is the triangle, although he just hits the triangle once and then proceeds to wildly dance to the tang. Well, at least he's having fun. What more could you ask for from a show like this? Ed also has catchphrases such as, "I must say," "totally decent," and "give me a break." But who uses catchphrases? Think for yourself. Be excellent to each other. And of course, keep it creepy. The animated version of Ed Grimley also had black pants that were too short. Again, high waters. With an orange and red plaid button-up short-sleeve shirt. The show would exaggerate some things and show Ed going on some pretty interesting adventures. Ed's adventures always started out uneventful, but by the end of the episode, they would always turn out to be very strange and cartoonish.
Wasn't there a science section too?
There actually was, goats. It was a segment called The Amazing Gustav Brothers. The Amazing Gustav Brothers segments included gravity experiments, rocket propulsion, centrifugal force, time travel. There was also a segment called Count Floyd's Really Scary Stories. It's sort of a show within a show, and it's Ed's absolutely favorite show. The Count Floyd character began on SCTV and is portrayed by comic actor Joe Flaherty. Down the line, we might decide to cover the Count Floyd segments in depth a little better, if this video gets enough traction. The other characters in this world include Grimley's landlord, Leo Freebus, who's voiced by none other than, wow, I just found this out, Jonathan Winters. The Jonathan Winters. That's cool. And Leo's wife, Deirdre Freebus, voiced by Andrea Martin. Not to mention his ditzy aspiring actress neighbor, Miss Malone, voiced by Catherine O'Hara. This character had the added distinction of actually appearing in the Saturday Night Live sketch as well. You know, one thing we do here at the Labs is I tend not to really read these scripts so I can be just as surprised when I'm reading them. And I'm telling you, this show had like an all-star cast. Next up, we have Wendell, voiced by Danny Cooksey. He is Miss Malone's little brother. There are a lot of voice actors that would also appear as side characters or were not in a lot of episodes. Some of the most notable actors you will recognize as they appear as voice actors in a lot of other animated shows we love, such as Charlie Adler, Michael Bell, and Art Johnson, just to name a few. Ed also owned a goldfish named Moby and a smart pet rat named Sheldon, voiced by Frank Welker. At the end of each episode, we see Ed writing in his diary about his day.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
You've seen us here on YouTube, you watch our videos, but get ready for something you've never seen before. Behind the scenes, commentary versions of our videos, Patreon exclusive content, videos YouTube wouldn't allow us to post, bloopers and outtakes, Q&As, mentions in YouTube videos, and so much more. Just pick the tier that works for you and join the Macabre'Gorium Labs Patreon today. And if you're watching this video on YouTube, it means our Patreon is already launched, and as an added bonus, we also finally opened our Discord, available on our Patreon.
And now, back to the show.
What the hell was that? Now that we've talked about the show, let's dig into the actual episodes of this thing. During the opening theme, we see a real Ed Grimley running around manically and digs his cartoon self out of his very full closet and puts it on over his real self. This turns him into a cartoon character and begins each episode. Episode 1, Tall, Dark, and Handsome. While filling in for his cousin at a cab company, hijinks ensue and he ends up in a horse race. Episode 2, Ed's debut. In this one, Ed thinks that he's been asked to play in the city's Philharmonic group when his music teacher doesn't answer his phone. On the way to the concert, he's arrested and imprisoned for a bank robbery that he had nothing to do with. Episode 3, E.G. Go Home. Ed and Wendell take a bus to go to the amusement park. However, they get out at a space research center instead and think they're getting on a rocket ride. But, it being a real rocket, they blast off into space and meet an alien queen. Episode 4, Ed's in Hot Water. Ed is watching the Freebus house while they're out on vacation. During this time, Ed decides to attempt to fix the water heater and ends up going down the drain into the ocean and on an island. On this island, he finds a stranded pilot. Hijinks ensue. Episode 5, Great Expectations. Ed has a crush on Miss Malone and he's attempting to get her a birthday present. With the usual antics, Ed ends up getting trapped in a crate. While this is going on, Miss Malone is feeling bad as she didn't get an acting job she auditioned for. But in an It's a Wonderful Life parody, Miss Malone meets a guardian angel that shows her what life would be like without her. Episode 6, Grimley, PFC. In this one, Ed is just trying to return a book to the library where he ends up joining the army. Because of course he does. Episode 7, Moby is lost. Ed's fish Moby is missing, and so in an effort to find him, Ed hires a TV-obsessed sea captain to help track him down. Episode 8. Good Neighbor Ed. In the only musical episode of this series, Ed wins a contest, but in order to get the prize, he has to take a picture of all his neighbors. Episode 9. Driver Ed. Miss Malone has to learn how to drive, so she foolishly asks Ed to teach her. However, there is an accident, and the two end up as ghosts that haunt Mr. Freebus. 80s TV was wild, man. Episode 10. Blowin' in the Wind. Ed is traveling to his aunt's house to play Monopoly. On the way, he is swept up in the same tornado that got Dorothy from Wizard of Oz. But Ed ends up on the farm, not Oz, with Auntie Em, Uncle Henry, and Dorothy. There's a summer stock show coming up, and they're hoping this will lead them to a shot at Broadway fame. Episode 11, Eyewitness Ed. Needing hot dogs for a party, Ed goes to the extremely creepy store, that sounds like my kind of shop, and sees that Der Bingle, voiced by Eugene Levy, is robbing the store. Being a witness to the crime, Ed is forced to enter witness protection for safety. Episode 12, Eddie, We Hardly Knew Ye. We see Ed in the hospital to get his tonsils removed. However, his roommate is a werewolf, and Ed flees from the wolf where he is caught by hospital staff. When the staff checks on the roommate, he's sleeping soundly in human form. As is typical with these I saw it, you didn't kind of things. 80s was wild. And finally, episode 13, The Irving Who Came to Dinner. Irving Cohen, another Martin Short character, visits Ed. Irving helps Ed uncover some scam artists. With only 13 episodes in the series, Ed Grimley was packed with that awesome 80s weirdness, and you know how much we love that. On January 29th, 2013, Warner Home Video would release the completely mental misadventures of Ed Grimley, the complete series, on DVD as part of the Hanna-Barbera Classic Collection. Here in 2025, you can get this DVD online via sites like eBay and Amazon for around $30 US. In addition to the DVD, you can also find a bunch of merchandise online too. Over on eBay, you can find reasonably priced t-shirts, posable dolls, and a lunchbox with thermos, as well as framed autographed pictures. This one will always hold one of those weird spots in my head where I remember watching it, but until we watched it recently, I kind of faded from memory. That being said, this was also one of those shows that when it came on, it seemed like it was a rare occurrence, at least where we live in Washington State. In Martin Short, I really liked this one. It was a lot of fun. And the sketches on SNL are pretty good too. Maybe we'll cover those later on. But now you know what I think? I've just gotta ask. Did you ever watch the Ed Grimley cartoon series? If so, what was your favorite episode or character? If not, what was your favorite childhood snack, toy, show, movie, or other memory? Did we forget anything, get something wrong, or leave something out? Do you have a suggestion for a future video? Or maybe you just want to drop in and say hi. Either way, feel free to head on down to the comment section because as usual, we love hearing from you. And with that, unfortunately, we've come to the end of another Macabre'Gorium Labs showcase of things likely forgotten. This thing sure did come in handy, and I'm sure we'll be using it again in the future. I've been your host, Bats, and I hope you had a good time today as we took a look at the completely mental misadventures of Ed Grimley. Totally decent, I must say. Be sure to check back next time because you never know what we have in store. And as usual, think for yourselves. Be excellent to each other. And hey Ed, what did you think of today's video?
I watch this show every day of my life, sir. I think it's the best show on the air ever that has been. It's weird how good it is. It's so strange.
And with that standing ovation, keep it creepy. This thing's awesome. Hey, thanks for checking out our video. If you enjoyed this one and would like to see more of our weird, creepy, odd, eccentric, or strange content as soon as it comes out, please feel free to click like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more. We'll see you later. Keep it creepy.